Well, hello there everybody, we're back on Sims. This is part 3 in my Let's Play Sims 3 XTNS series. So if you haven't watched part 1 and part 2, I mean, you don't have to necessarily, but if you're looking for characters that I've made beforehand, or you're like, why haven't you made Rochelle, or why haven't you made Lily, then go check out those videos because I have made them in those other videos. So if you're looking for something that I might have already done, go check out those videos before you comment, do this and do that, because I don't like when people demand me to do things. But anyway, we're back on Sims 3 and we today are making the Next Step dance studio, and I'm so excited to show you guys this because I'm filming the audio now after I've already done it, because I'm watching it with you guys and I'm going to be talking over the top. I'm so happy with what I've made, and I'm just really excited to show you. So the first thing that I did was decide what kind of community lot I wanted it to be, because originally I was going to make it residential, but then I figured I could only have 8 people living there, and then I'd have to keep inviting people over. So it'd just be easy if they all lived in different houses and they just go literally to the next step, because it's also more realistic because no one lives at the studio, and I didn't want to have to put beds and stuff in the studio because that would just ruin it. So I made it a community lot, and I was going to make it a dance club, but that's a type of nightclub, which means I'd only be able to go there at night time, and I'd have to put a bar in there and stuff, and that kind of defeats the object of what the next step is. So I just made it a visitors allowed lot, which means that people can come and go into it whenever they like, even if I'm not playing them. So we might visit the next step and there might be a whole bunch of people in Studio A and we might have to kick them out. So let me show you the building. This is our next step. So I haven't done any of the downstairs yet, or I've really gone to depth with the exterior, but we've got our upstairs area, which is going to be Studio A. I don't know about the other rooms yet, but I have an idea to put places like the music room downstairs and then the other rehearsal rooms upstairs. I think Studio 1 is going to be downstairs. We need to sort that out maybe next episode. But upstairs is definitely going to be Studio A, and to get there you're going to have to go up these steps, which I am going to envision from Amy's promposal that they did their dance on. So when we enter Studio A through these green doors here, you can see I've already put kind of some cubbies that I'm going to change later. There's a stereo, the chairs that I randomly put there. So the first thing I did was change the wall colour to a more grey brick tone, because that's what the next step has. And you see that I've separated the wall with this like wooden wallpaper thing, and that's because there is a little wood slats that are yellow on the next step walls. I then made the office red, and the office actually changes colour between seasons. I think it's season 4 it starts to become red, and then from then it's red. Before it's blue. I think I prefer the red. I'm not sure why. I think it just makes the studio look a bit warmer. I made the office red, and I didn't really know about the dimensions yet until we start to build the furniture and build the studio in more depth. So I just left it as a little box for now so that I could just literally drag the walls when it came to it. As for the wallpapering and decoration around the studio itself, I feel like the studio is actually quite tatty, and it could do with a really good makeover because there's about 10 different styles of wallpaper and paint and brickwork and stuff like that. So the one that's next to the cubbies, just before the mirrors get started, is half and half brick and just grey slate thing with some purple coloured brick. That's kind of that area. And then we have normal brick behind the mirrors, and then it changes completely on the other side of the wall. So it just has way too many different colours, and if I honestly worked there, I'd give it a big fresh lick of paint and I'd revamp it, but I guess it still has the original like family feel, and it's very warm, and we all love Studio A. So then I put the mirrors in, and the mirrors are individual on the show, but I felt like it just didn't look right to put individual mirrors and have massive gaps between them on my what is this, studio wall. So I've got the one on the left there, and then I've got 2 big mirrors next to it, because then they've still got the gaps like they do on the next step, but I felt like it was just impractical to have loads of little mirrors when I could just have a big one. So I put big mirrors for practicality, and we will turn on the reflections later on when we actually start playing, but just while I was building, because it slows down the game slightly, I turned the reflection of the mirror off, so that's why it's just white at the moment. I put these little plastic chairs next to the mirrors because that's what they have on the show. I don't really know why there's so many chairs just lying about the studio, but that's what I did. And I tried to imitate the piping that goes around the studio by using these little strip lights, and I felt like it worked relatively well, to be honest. So then I did the benches that are in Studio A, and I struggled with this because it's obviously a bench that doesn't have a back to it. It's just like literally you sit down, that's all. These are the closest I could come to it, and these are included with the late night expansion pack. But obviously they're not benches as such, they're just seats, so I wasn't completely happy, but this is what I did for now. But later on I did find something that worked better, even though they can't sit on it, so stay tuned to see what I change it into. But then I just edited the office itself, and I decided that this walkway area of Studio A is a lot tighter and narrower, so I dragged the wall of the office in a little bit. I added some little columns around the studio because they do have these if you look carefully. There's more narrow ones and then there's thicker ones that go around, and it just adds a bit more depth and I guess a bit more realism because it is just one big open space. So I added the columns and put little lights. No, I didn't. So I added the columns around the area, and I replaced the wooden wallpaper kind of thing with the columns because I felt like this looked better. I then changed the cubbies so that they could have an individual like box each, and I felt like these ones worked a lot better, so I made them the same yellow colour that they are on the show and replaced the more like frail looking bookcases with them. I felt like they worked a lot better, to be honest. Even though they are filled with books, we might be able to take all the books out. I'm not sure if we can take all of them and it will change the whole appearance of this bookcase, but I really like the effect that they gave. And then I just made the studio door, but I am going to go in and change this later on because it's actually like a big grand door that I didn't do. The windows that are around Studio A are pretty much all the same. They're like this, what do you even call these type of windows? I'm not sure, but they're very black, and to be honest, the Studio A windows are very filthy. They have like specks of like broken stuff in. I don't know, I think they need a good clean. But I put those around the front of the office, and in front of it I then put the bench, and this kind of helped me to decide the width of the office that it needed to be because it is only 2 windows in width. So I changed that, and then I put the benches in next to it. But the thing I really hated was that they kept trying to connect, and I just wanted one big bench. So yeah, this is the best I could do for now until I find something that's better, which I do later. I noticed that on the exterior of the office, the pattern of the sliding changes. So on the edges, it's like it goes, what's this called, horizontally, and then the rest of it is vertical. So I wanted to make this tiny little change because I'm a perfectionist and I like attention to detail. So I made them horizontal even though they had little lines down them, and I felt like this worked really, really well. And then I obviously had to put the legendary windows at the back of the studio, and I couldn't really find any that were big enough, but I settled on these 3 because they were the right shape. I just wish that I could make the walls higher without making a whole new story on top of the current level. But behind the windows I've got this walkway because it's not obviously actual sunlight that comes in. I've got this walkway behind it, and I'm going to put loads and loads of lights there, so it's constantly going to be bright in the studio and make it look exactly the same as the set, how there's always white light coming through them. I then made the floor area outside the office and put a few benches down, and then I put all the doors down and Enter Studio A, but I think I missed the door. I think there's another one that we need to put in later, but we'll find that, I'm sure. Just as I watched the next step to find clips for my videos, I noticed more and more tiny little things. I put more of these yellow columns down around the studio just to make it, like I said before, for the other columns it's more realistic because they do have these columns, but they are more attached to the wall. But these was the best I could do without putting the cheat on, because when I used move objects on, which is a cheat to move objects literally anywhere, they just went into the wall and you couldn't see them. So this is the closest I could get to what they are on the show. just like I did with the front of the studio by the cubbies, I then put the chairs that they have in by the windows. I'm not really sure why they've got chairs by the windows, because surely that takes up space, but I was going off a picture, and I think the season I was using was season, I'm not sure. I was using a lot of 360 videos, so the ones that you can physically turn around with your finger and look all the way around the space, because that was very, very helpful. But I put the chairs down and I got the colours right, and I was actually really happy with them. This is the point where I felt like it was really beginning to take shape and look like Studio A, so I was very, very proud of myself. And what I found, this is where it was the revolutionary thought, was that the coffee tables, these ones particularly, look like benches. So even though the Sims won't be able to sit on them, they look very much the part. So I made the coffee tables white and shoved them in by the windows. I put the benches by the wall, but I made these ones wooden, just like they are on the show. The Sims won't be able to sit on them physically, but they're just there for effect, and they're there because it looks right. I replaced the bench by the cubbies as well with the coffee tables, really put them really close together, just like a bench, and I'm pretty sure I did the ones by the office as well. I put some more columns down around the area too, and that helped me to decide where the benches would go in terms of exactly middle and proportionate. I put in the mysterious door as well that goes beneath the chicken wall, and I'm upset that I won't be able to do the chicken wall because I can't get a story above without it looking odd. It'd be too high basically. So yeah, there'll be no chicken wall unless I can get some chickens. I've got chickens, but I don't think it'd be practical to put actual chickens in the studio. So we'll have to go without that for now, I'm afraid. But I put the green doors in the corner, and you can see that it just leads to a tiny little room. So they don't actually go anywhere, but they have the effect of actually being working doors, I guess. I put a poster next to it, just like on the show. And then it came to editing the floor. And I didn't actually notice this, like, it wasn't just on my list of things to do, but they have a, what would I even call that? It's like a trim of a different floor type around the actual dance floor. So I did the trimming around it, and I did do one at the back later on when I noticed that I didn't do it. And I changed the orientation that the wooden floor that they actually dance on goes, because it's horizontal, not vertical. I tried to get it as specific as possible, but it was actually really hard to get the exact shade. I couldn't do it, but I felt like this worked well enough, to be honest. Of course I had to add the chandelier that goes in the middle of the next step. The massive one that I have was just too big and it would have obstructed the dancers, so I couldn't pick that. But I felt like once I added the chandelier and put the roof on, it looked so much like the next step because of the ambience and just the lighting effects. And then I added these ceiling lights, which they won't be able to see once we start playing because they're within the buy debug menu, which is like what they put around the town. That townies can't see. You can't see once you're playing the game basically. They're just like studio lights, which fit the theme very well considering it's not an actual studio. So pretend that this is all the light rigging above them. I feel like this just really made it look like the next step because it gave it that nice homely, warm feeling. And oh, I honestly just love it so much. I'm really, really proud of it. I then obviously had to add the speakers all the way around, even though we don't know where the music comes from half the time. We want them to be dancing, the music is going to have to be louder and not just in the corner of the room where that little tiny stereo is on the table. Let me just give you a little tour. So as you go into the studio, you've got the cubbies on the left, which are yellow, and you've got your little table in the corner. You've got the door to the office, which we'll make in a second. And as you look around, you've got your mirrors, the doors, and the stereos, the big windows, the benches obviously. Like I said earlier, I put some coffee tables down outside the office to make it look like benches, but I included just these two little seats so that they can actually go and sit down because they have the blocks on the show, which I might put instead of the seats, but I kind of want them to be able to sit if they need to. And then I just got to work making the office. I also changed the windows, which were outside, looking out to the cubbies, to match the ones that you've put around the rest of the office. And then I just put these chairs in, so I made them match the ones that are on the show. You have this bright yellow one and the bright purple one. To be honest, I really don't like the style of the office. I liked it when it was Miss Kate's office and it looked very mature and formal and like an office scenario. I just don't get why Emily has kept the bright yellow seats, and there's a bright pink one, and I feel like it's not Emily at all. I don't know, it's very odd. So if there's a season 8 of The Next Step, I would like to see the office change again to something that's a bit more mature. I'd love to see it in the same style that Emily had it when she had her office in Studio 1, because that was very Emily. You know, she had a picture of herself on the back wall. She had it very white and clean and grey tones. That is much more Emily than this one is, I feel. So I put the table in that they have, tried to get it a similar colour. The thing that I noticed when I was making the office is that it's a very messy area. There's like loads of random papers everywhere, books and stuff, and just clutter all on the tables. So I'm doing my best to try and make sure I captured that. And once it was done, I felt very proud of it, like I was Studio A. I felt like it looked very much like the one that is on the show. So we've got the doors that you come through with seats all around. I really like the bench that's outside the office, to be honest. I feel like that looks really, really good. And then you've obviously got the benches in front of the cubbies, you've got the mirrors, and then you've got the benches outside the office. If I give you a little turn around, you can see the chandelier, the seats at the back by the windows. You can see into the office. It looks really cluttered and messy, and just like on the show. You can see the speakers on the walls, and yeah, this is literally Studio A and the office done. I'm really, really happy with it. Here's some just still images that you can see just to capture the effect of it a bit more. I'm so excited to get the cast in and just see them walking around and stuff. I really want to put some ballet bars on the side, even though they don't have them, just so there can be more dancing going on. And I want to put the actual dance floor down that you can get with Late Night, or you can buy it off the Sims store, because I have bought it off the Sims store and then I got Late Night, so I could have had it for free. But I'm really excited to put that down. And yeah, it's going to look so good. I'm really excited because I've also made about 10 more characters, and I'm not going to show you them. I'm going to leave it a surprise so that if they're walking around town or they're interacting with people, we'll be able to see that randomly. But I'll give you some hints. We've got some bad guys, we've got some legends, we've got some original characters from like season 1, we've got some fan favourites that aren't necessarily my favourites. You'll probably guess who it is from that. Yeah, I'm really, really excited to carry on this series. I think next episode we will do is probably making the juice bar and maybe the other studios. I'll see how much like content I can fit into one video, because I really want to get playing now, but they can't go into Studio A when the rest of it is like a construction site. So we'll make the rest of the rooms in the next episode, probably take about 2 episodes, or we'll make one long one next week, and then we will get playing. Give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, and if you're excited to see more, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you next week for a new video. No, I'll see you on Sunday for a new video actually. We're going to be doing some dance battles. You can decide what that means for yourself. Bye guys.